Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Your favorite show is back, the Yuba City Home, Garden, and Sportsman's Expo, March 24th through 26th at the Yuba-Sutter Fairgrounds. You'll find concrete floor coatings, indoor flooring, things to go on the floor, items softer than the floor, food, more than 100 exhibitors for home, garden, and sports, and tasty treats to eat or take with you. The Yuba City Home, Garden, and Sportsman's Expo. Details at ychomeshow.com.
Annually, we update our comprehensive economic development strategy, and we're here tonight to make a presentation with regard to those updates specific to the city of Marysville. I want to thank staff for working with us and getting us the project updates, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Cynthia Roderick, who does all the work, and she can make the presentation for you this evening. We'll be happy to answer questions.
Welcome, Cynthia.
Hello, lucky me. So I'm the SEDS committee chairman. Again, my name is Cynthia Roderick. And for those that don't know what the comprehensive economic development strategy is, or for short SEDS, it's a regional process for planning and development. And it's designed to help guide us into economic growth for the Yuba-Sutter region. Helps create jobs, brings in businesses, makes us a more stable and sustainable community. And this presentation will include updates to the data profiles, which is Appendix 1, agricultural data, and Appendix 5, which is the public works projects. And then finally, it will be a synopsis of the last year's evaluation for 2022. In other words, what we accomplished for the region or in the region of Yuba and Sutter counties. So this represents the goals and objectives of the Yuba-Sutter Economic Development District, and it's comprised of Yuba, Sutter, and the cities of Live Oak, Marysville, Wheatland, and the city of Yuba City. So if I could have that slide presentation up. Oh.
Technical difficulties.
Not. Not even gonna happen.
While we're at it, waiting for a few moments, is there a headline that comes to the top of your head that you'd like to share?
In respects of what we did? Or?
Yeah, the outlook. The outlook.
I think our region was very, very positive. But we had our GDP grew in the last year. So mind you, the GDP runs a little bit behind the scenes, but we look very, very positive. There's a lot of positive activity going on in Marysville, in Yuba County, Sutter, and the city of Yuba City. So it looks like we're making very, very good progress forward.
I own part of a rice farm and familiar with a lot of rice farmers. And it was an outlier year on the upside in terms of rice income on the ag side.
Well, it's very surprising that rice did increase overall if you looked at the crop reports. But like I said, it runs about a year behind. So I'm not quite sure about 2022. I think we'll probably see some reductions in the 2022 because that's where the drought had really, really deepened in.
Yeah, the further west you got, the drier it got, and they didn't have the water. But those who could plant made outside numbers on. So you'll see good numbers, yeah, at least for those who can plant.
See it in 2022.
And with the rain, I think everybody's going to be able to get a crop in this year.
So I can share a fun.
Here we go.
Waiting for the slide to roll. From the pandemic to 2022, we actually had 538 new business establishments in the Yuba City MSA. So while other communities were seeing, tremendous loss of business, that's not what we saw here. We saw new business, we saw entrepreneurs starting up and actually, putting their money where their mouth is and making an investment in the community. So for me, that's pretty extraordinary. We didn't see that almost anywhere else in the country. So yay us.
Exactly.
I'm looking for the PowerPoint presentation rather than this. I'm hoping that everybody had an opportunity to review through the SEDS evaluation. It was a considerably larger document, but we had substantially more participation from our community partners. So we had more reporting and more information. Okay. Thought it sent it to you. But anyway, so our vision is to foster a vibrant, prosperous, and growing Yuba-Sutter region through exceptional leadership and involvement in the community. And I'm just going to talk about some stats for the Yuba-Sutter MSA or Yuba City MSA. We did have a small employment growth. We went from 7,200 to 7,700. So it's up 0.7%. Our labor force actually declined. I suspect that's the reason for that was all that free money. Nobody wanted to go back to work. Our unemployment rate, though, from last year to this year did substantially drop. It dropped about 3.21% percentage points or 38% overall. And another good thing is that our annual wages did increase and we're up 5.6%. So people are making more money. They'll have more money to spend or at least offset the cost of living rising. One thing that is a little bit scary, and it's in your evaluation report, the cost about, people were earning about $6,100 and the cost of living was about $62,999, which means people are just a paycheck away from losing everything. So that is a little scary on that note. Our poverty levels have decreased by 1.5%. We're now at 14%. I believe about 20 years ago, we were at 22% poverty. So we've really made some inroads in terms of poverty reduction. The median household income is $61,676. Compared to US, it's $64,994. So we're almost making the nationwide. In terms of GDP, our GDP grew 9.74%, which is a substantial number. A lot of that had to maybe do with agriculture. We're struggling still with education attainment. And I don't know if some of this was a result of the pandemic, but those that had no high school diploma the numbers did increase. From the year before, it was at 17.7, and this year in 2022, it's at 19.11. So in terms of high school graduates, we're maintaining our numbers. We did go down with some college or no degrees, just a small percentage point. We went down in our associate degrees and we went down in our bachelor degrees, but strangely enough, those with postgraduate degrees did increase. So I don't know if that was because of influx of new people to the area. I can't attribute that to anything. So notable goals or accomplishments that align with the SEDS tactics is On goal 1, tactic 3, to maintain and promote and expand regional business. The Marysville Business Alliance was formed last year, and their mission is to revitalize Marysville through community events and create a unified voice to represent the business community at a city and county levels. They seem to be doing a lot of work in that respect. There were 3 new businesses that opened or are near opening: 7-Eleven, Dutch Brothers Coffee, and Abbott Burger. If there was more, I apologize. And the B Street property is moving forward to development of a hotel, restaurant, and grocery store. So that's really great news for the city here. In terms of improve and a modernized infrastructure, the flood protection in our area, which is probably at forefront right now with all this rain, we're doing really well in terms of flood protection. Let's see, the Marysville Ring Project has completed several projects. Phase 1 on Simmerly Slough was completed and around Marysville High School. Phase 4 on Simmerly Slough, phases 2A north and south on the Feather River were also completed. So there was a lot of completion in terms of our levee protections. We are very, very stable in terms of our levees here compared to other areas in California, as witnessed by other flooding. So we've really, hats off to Trilla and Sabuca and the Yuba Water Agency for getting our levees to the strength that they are at this time. In terms of regional projects, Caltrans has 34 projects slated for the Yuba-Sutter area, and 5 projects were completed in 2022. And that represents a $145 million capital infusion to our region. And Marysville completed the 5th Street Bridge project from Highway 70 to J Street. And this was a $3.5 million project that was completed. So hats off to you folks there. In terms of promoting transit planning and housing development, there has been a little bit movement on the Marysville Hotel, including new roof and plans for plumbing and electrical. Marysville East Lake Apartments, which is a 71 unit apartment affordable housing project, is just about completed. And then there's other market rate projects under consideration, as I understand it. That includes 3rd and D Street and 425 5th Street. So working to get your housing in and helping the ride out population, nursing population, and keeping those people from leaving. So that's really good. Marysville Drakes is moving to the area. So in terms of overall quality of life, we're offering recreational features. The Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture will be designing 20 freestanding signs throughout the city explaining the historic significance of buildings or certain areas of significance. So as a walking tour, this will be really, really great. And hopefully if we get a grant for Ellis Lake Park, this will continue through the park area. 3rd time's a charm, right, Jim? Pandemic related and capital infusion. This is sort of petering out. California Relief Grant has almost ended. They had something like 12 rounds, but 235 businesses were assisted in the Yuba County area, representing $2.4 million. And 115 of those were businesses from Marysville, representing $1.2 million. And then Yuba County and Sutter County offered a micro business grant relief program. And these are for the micro businesses. They don't earn more than $50,000 in a year. And there was 32 micro businesses that were funded in Yuba County, and 21 were from Marysville. And these are your food trucks, your cart vendors, your smaller landscape people. So there's been some definite improvements in the area and funding and capital infusion in this area. And that's about my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to field them. If I can answer them, I will.
Before questions, I want to commend you. Cynthia, you do not need a PowerPoint. That was great. That was really good. Really good.
I can read.
Any questions or comments?
To the chair.
Sure.
Just a couple questions. One, you mentioned the grant around Ellis Lake. I know we had a bunch of public input 2-3 years ago. Is that public input still relevant to the grant applications that we're putting together now?
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
And I will be reporting that we have made that input. People's opinion haven't changed, and
Yeah.
there's really no necessity to repeat that public input.
Gotcha.
Their feelings are the same. And
Good.
we
Good.
will convey that message into this Clean California grant.
Perfect. The second question I've got is what type of business sectors do you guys see coming into the area? You're talking about some of the business growth, business improvements. I mean, what sectors do you see coming into the Yuba-Sutter region in general?
Well, you want to field that one?
I don't have the data with us, but I certainly can pull that report without any problem.
Sure.
And we can analyze that.
Yeah.
One thing that I would add is the EDC is making a substantial investment to the tune of about $90,000, which is a lot of money for us, in some new data mining platforms that will allow us to really dig deep and look at the analysis and make very strong arguments or case studies for why we have a demand and why it's not being met and how we go out and attract those kinds of businesses.
Yeah.
So we will take possession of that platform April 1, and we'll have probably about a 30-day learning curve to get up to speed. But I think it's really going to allow us to really elevate any kind of proposals. I think I have mentioned in the past that we had a platform a decade ago or so, and what it allows us to do is, for example, when Buffalo Wild Wings was being courted to Yuba City, there was a developer. He came to me and he said, "Can you provide me with something? We're on their radar, as is normal, right? Retail generally knows well before you know that they're ready to come, when they're ready to come to a community, based on rooftops and wages, etc." We were able to run enough data that showed a high enough demand that they moved their construction schedule up from 6 years to 6 months. So it gives us data that we haven't had in a while that will allow us to really make these very, very strong arguments as to why we're the right fit for them. It also allows us to look at cases where we're not the right fit. Most recently in southern Yuba County, South Yuba County, there was another fuel station that wanted to develop in South Yuba County. And as you know, down in that Plumas Lake area, they're pretty saturated with fuel stations. We were able to provide sufficient acceptable data to the developer that said fuel station is not a good idea, but here is the good idea, right? So they adjusted their development plan, and they're now building a strip center that's going to have other amenities that are much needed in South County. So those are the kind of things that we get super excited about when we have the tools that we can use to help you all and our local developers and our regional developers and even our national site selectors understand what we need here and how we can support that. And having that solid data source will allow us to do that. That was kind of a long-winded answer.
That was a perfect answer, and I can.
I am sorry. And then I would add that on the Ellis Lake project, for me, I think one thing that as we brush off this application in the next week or so, the investment that y'all have made at the ballpark is going to be a huge help to bolster that. It's showing that you all are making an investment so that grant funder is not the only skin in the game. We're investing in our own community.
Well, I can say I sit on the board of directors and the executive board for the EDC. with Brynda, and I've known Cynthia a long time, and you guys are kicking butt in the region. So it's a wonderful thing to be partnered with you guys and keep up the good work. So
Want to be good partners to y'all.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Dan, you must have something to say. You're involved in this.
Well, I think the report was fantastic. I mean, and I agree with you. I think the ability to present all of those things without any notes is excellent, because I've been involved with all those things you were just talking about, and I was thinking, wow, she got them all. I don't think you missed any. So, but I want to reiterate what Councilman Belza mentioned. It's really great to be able to work with you guys, and I'm looking forward to leveraging you more. I mean, working, and that's what the relationship's about for the city of Marysville, to be able to utilize your services for these upcoming grant opportunities for the small business, which we're about to launch here within a few days, probably. And then looking at the new grant opportunities that I know that Vincenzo sent over for farmers market issues and some other grants that are sitting out there. Looking forward to working with you guys on it. So those are the only comments I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you,
sir.
And we very seldom say no. So take advantage.
Mr. City Manager.
I just wanted to reiterate comments that were already made. We would not have been able to submit grants for Ellis Lake without EDC. There was just not enough resource here, and they stepped up and applied for those grants. We haven't landed one yet, but I agree the third time is a charm. If not, it'll be the fourth time, but we will get there. So thank you for all the work you guys have done for us.
Absolutely.
Just on that note, I do want to give you a little anecdote. I've been applying to this one company for several years, sort of brush it off every year and think, oh, well, I've got it down pat. They finally did award us money. It took us 5 years, but they finally awarded us money. So there's persistence pays off.
Well, I'm impressed by your presentation, impressed by the work you do. Thank you very much.
All righty. And we just respectfully request that the council will adopt a resolution to accept the updates to appendices 1, 4, and 5, and accept the 2022 SEDS evaluation. Thank you very much.
That will be on our next agenda. Apparently it's not on this agenda. I don't know how it got missed. Is it there?
We will also send it out.
Just a moment.
We will make sure it goes on.
The ball got dropped, but it'll get picked up. Thank you very, very much. Very impressive. We didn't know you were going to ask for that at the end. Or if we did. Oh. Okay. Moving forward with the agenda then, we move to the community and consent calendar forum, which leads me to read a paragraph I read every meeting. Individuals wishing to address the council concerning consent calendar items or on matters not already on the agenda are invited to make oral comments of up to 3 minutes. If you would like to comment and you're attending in person, please complete a speaker's card and return that card to the city clerk. When called upon, go to the podium and address the council. If participating via Zoom and you would like to speak, please raise your hand via Zoom. And when called upon, you will be unmuted and address the council. Whether here in person or via Zoom, when called upon, we request that you please give your name clearly for audio recording. And you're requested to address your comments to the council and not to the audience. By state law, council is not permitted to undertake any action or discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. If you have any documentation you would like to be distributed to the council, please mail it to the city clerk, 526 C Street, Marysville 95901. Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to comment?
We do. Thank you, Mayor. Our first speaker will be Musa Jawara.
Welcome, Musa.
Yes, hello. I'm the ambassador of the Busse Area Council. And I'm here with one of our chair members, Yuba Jawara, who has been with you guys, I believe, in January. And this is a presentation that we have that we wanted to share with you guys today. Okay, so us area council is a small region in West Gambia, and is one of the 6 local government area councils in the Gambia, including Banjul, located in the Upper River Division. The Gambia is a small country with population of 2 million, mandated under the Local Government Act of 2002 to administer the affairs of Busse local government area. Our Busse local government area has 7 districts headed by a chief, 14 wards represented by elected councillors. The council is headed by an elected chairperson as its political head responsible for its overall control and direction. You can go to the next slide. All right, Busse is the 3rd largest local government area, a population of 253,000 inhabitants. This was the amount in like 2013.
Shouldn't this have been put on the agenda as a presentation, not in this manner? I'm just questioning.
You asking me?
Let's get through this. Okay. Please continue, sir. I'm sorry.
All right. So we have it classified as a corporate body with legislative, executives, and administrative functions under the Local Government Act of 2002. The council is charged with a responsibility to raise tax for delivery of essential services. Next slide. Next. So this is right here, the breakdown of our, committee, how we operate, as you can see from the upper government and how we work from each different groups of members, as we go with it. You can go on to the next slide. So as you can see, the guy on the left-hand side is our chairman, and the middle person is Honorable Yuba Jawara, and the one to the right side is Mr. Usman Toure. These are our chairmen who came over in January, and Mr. Yuba is back here as well with us, but unfortunately he couldn't make it today.
May I please, this is Mayor Chris Branscombe. May I interrupt for a moment, please?
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is the 3-minute limit on this part of our agenda. And this is not a discussion. We're not supposed to discuss these matters. But I did see your offer to make a presentation to the council. But the question I had before putting it on the agenda, as the vice mayor has raised the issue, was with respect to the motivation and the connection to Marysville. If you could spend a moment on that, or if you would contact us separately, if there is a relevant connection to the city of Marysville, we could put you on the agenda and grant you more time, but otherwise we're limited to 3 minutes here. If you could very quickly suggest your motivation and connection to the business of Marysville.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, this is the whole purpose of this presentation, is to see how we can form a sister city between Busse Area Council and Marysville City Council as 2 city councils, to share experience and then share, culture, and then, in terms of learning from each other as peers. So basically, if we could be afforded an opportunity to discuss more about some of the Busse Area Council has, we'll be grateful about it.
Musa, I can say that City of Marysville appreciates the compliment. but we do have a sister city in Taiwan. And your interest in Marysville is again a compliment that we accept as a compliment. If you would reach out again to city staff with with the idea behind your presentation and the connection that that presentation would have to the city, we would entertain putting you on a future agenda. But until then, I need to complete this section of the agenda at this time. Again, reach out to the city with a crisp definition of your interest in Marysville, and we may be able to put you on the agenda, but that is no guarantee. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk.
And our next speaker will be Beth Dodd.
Hi, I'm from Adams Ashby Group. We're presenting tonight on the CDBG Closeout Award for the Wildland Fire Truck, and I need to make everyone aware there's a sign-in sheet. If everyone could sign that to keep us in compliance for the regulations as you're leaving.
What's that noise?
Thank you.
Holy cow. Did you hear her? Jim,
A clarification, is the sign-up sheet for the audience or does the council and body? Everybody, okay, just wanted to make sure.
And forgive me, I did not hear you clearly. It might be my advancing years. It might be the sound of the wind outside the building. Right up close on the microphone and please, one more time.
Okay, I'm Beth Dodd from Adams Ashby Group. I just needed to make everyone aware of the sign-in sheet for the CDBG grant that we're closing out tonight. We just have to have a sign-in sheet made available for the regulations.
Beth, that is a very important item and we will take care of it. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Madam Clerk.
No further speakers, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, the consent calendar, all matters is the next item. And all matters on the consent agenda are considered routine and are therefore approved by one motion unless a council member or the city manager first requests that a matter be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and action. And what is the will of the council?
To the chair.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to pull number 3 and discuss that. Or move it to another session.
Okay, you want to, number 1.
I just have some quick questions on it that I am not fully understanding.
Mr. City Manager, would you rather tonight or at a future meeting?
I'm with hearing.
Okay. Well, then we will move it to the first action item this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion. I presume that's a motion to approve subject to removing 3. Mr. Vice Mayor. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Then we will move, let's see, before we go to the public hearing, which is item number 8 on the agenda, we will go to the action item. I don't have all the verbiage in advance of an action item, but here's the deal. We have a discussion and action item, which is approve a human resources manager, assistant to the city manager, job description and salary range. And the recommendation is to pass a motion to approve the attached job description for human resources manager / assistant to the city manager and salary range. And this will be presented by Mr. Jim Shad, city manager. And once his presentation is complete, we will open to public comment and then move on to council discussion and consideration. Mr. Shad.
Is related to some previous discussions regarding the compensation of the assistant to the city manager and our clerk. She fulfills two roles currently. However, we went in looking at her compensation. She is doing a significant amount of human resources work. And when we look at the job descriptions, it did the assistant to city manager position did not cover. Yes.
I know we went through most of all this and none of the questions I have.
Okay.
Just so you know, have to do with any of the salary.
Oh,
portion.
okay. Well,
It's just on some of the positioning and a couple of questions.
Okay. Well, I can
So
certainly just.
I'm just
answer
trying to
questions.
say, we don't have to go through that whole portion of it if you don't want.
I'm good with just answering questions.
Okay, that.
If the rest of the council is okay.
I think I just want, one thing is I want to understand the structure. If we're putting human resources and assistant city manager or assistant to the city manager, where does the city clerk fit within that? Is that a third position?
That is a third position, but, and Brant may have, or our attorney may have to help us with this. It is not a position with property rights similar to the, or it doesn't have property rights as this position that we're proposing tonight.
What does that mean, property rights?
Well, I'll let Brant explain.
Okay.
Yeah. We restructured the city clerk position after a long-term incumbent left.
Right. Okay.
Because there was some issue as to whether a person could be non-employee and yet insist upon being a city clerk. Sort of an odd thing if someone was either retired or let go and yet insisted on being the city clerk. So we made the city clerk stand alone with no property rights, meaning they couldn't insist upon some fair termination hearing. And we gave them a stipend, a small, I don't know what the number is, but it's a small $80 a month. So for $80 a month, the official city clerk duties are handled. It's an adjunct, and that person would have to be an employee in some capacity. It doesn't have to be this capacity. It can be any capacity, but that way, if they're not an employee with the city in some other capacity, the city manager, city council is free to say, you're no longer the city clerk, we'll appoint someone new.
So technically you're not a department head.
That's correct. And that's correct. A city clerk arguably could have been considered as such previously, but that was changed with the departure of the last.
And so with these titles,
these are standalone.
It is still not a department head, or it now becomes a department
Well,
head?
I don't know about that.
These are not a department head. They're at the mid-management manager level.
Okay. Okay. That's good to know because I couldn't figure out how we were doing.
This was honestly a complicated one, and it's related to having such a small organization and people doing multiple roles. The main goal in this new specification was to combine the human resource function with the assistant to the city manager function.
Okay. The other kind of just questioning around the human resource part. At some point, if you're doing with a new hire, according to this, that new hire only needs to have a high school diploma, progressively responsible work experience involved in the duties that are similar. That's it. They only have to have similar duties of an HR person to qualify for.
I'm reading under licenses and certifications.
I'm looking under employment standards.
Oh, Go to the last page. It says bachelor's degree in human resources, business administration, or related field desired, a minimum of 3 years, human resource management experience preferred.
Okay.
Blah, blah.
Well, and I don't know if it matters because that would probably override it, but isn't that kind of a I don't want to say conflict, but a conflict of
it doesn't align
standard.
well.
It's like it gives an easy standard. What I'd be concerned about is if we went out to fill the position, let's say.
My intention for that position is we would need a bachelor's degree or
so under the
requisite.
licenses and certification.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense too.
We'll take a look at it to clean that language up.
And then the only other question I would have or concern I would have would be using a multiple person position in HR. Seems like it's going to be a difficult position for them to for the average person to take that position and be able to conduct when there's issues with fellow employees. It seems a little bit tough on that person that would be carrying that job. And I guess my last and added portion of that would be, with the small amount that we use of an HR person, wouldn't it be possibly better to go out, outsource it to the little bit of time we use it? And then there's not a conflict between employees and department heads?
Just my thought is there's a significant amount of work that happens on a regular basis with that position, particularly in the recruiting and workers' comp areas. We are consistently running recruitments, and that person has to be available. I have a feeling that it would likely cost more to contract it out than to combine the two positions. And
this,
you know, a drug.
This is looking to make sure you understand. This is to make sure that we're looking down the road of if somebody was coming in to fill this position, not where we currently are maybe going with it. That's why I'm asking these questions.
I don't. Let me see if I can answer that. I don't fully understand the question, but right now, I don't think we're in the position to have two separate staff members to do both.
I would agree with you.
And so our current assistant to city manager / personnel manager / clerk has been shouldering that responsibility. She's already doing, and this is really documenting on the job description the human resource portion that she's doing. If we ever got to the point where we needed both or could afford both, we would likely separate the position, but I don't think we're there yet.
I don't want to necessarily separate the position. I'm thinking of if we're putting this in place for long-term, I just want to make sure that we're under our circumstances. I think we're going the proper direction with it. I think,
yeah,
without a doubt, we're going the right direction with it. But what I'm just thinking of is if there was ever that position needed to be replaced, is this in the form that we would like it to be?
In short, if Nicole were to leave, we would be scrambling to figure out what to do. And this is not what I would, this would not be the path I necessarily took. We would be starting over, figuring out what we need.
Okay, that's fine.
It would be a
I'm
difficult.
thinking we're putting this in as kind of
No.
permanent classification specification.
No. In fact, I think we left the two separate classifications alone.
Mm-hmm.
And created a new classification specifically for this situation.
Mm-hmm.
If we somehow had to replace Nicole, then we would look at a bunch of different options
Okay,
on how to spread that workload out again.
okay, that's fine. Then that answers everything. Thank you.
Okay, so public comment on this.
No public comment, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, so if I recall, we had a
query, if I may, through the chair.
We had a query. No, we had a query. Thank you. What's the?
So
No, we can look at, let's.
Chair,
Discussion.
I got a question for, again, not disagreeing with the direction that we're trying to go at this point. I just sitting in this chair for a couple of years now. I remember us contracting, and I need somebody to help, put a hammer to my head and help me remember this. Weren't we contracting with the company to help us with HR stuff prior to this event? We didn't have anybody else helping us out with any sort of keep them on retainer to help us out with. I mean, Nicole, you're please help me out here. Help me out with memory on this.
Correct. We've actually had multiple agencies that we've had contracts with in regards to consultants. We've had contracts with RGS, Regional Government Services, as well as Liebert Cassidy Whitmore, LCW. We still currently have a contract with LCW just for the legality side, depending on what presents itself. But the usage has gone down substantially since.
Awesome. Thank you. I remember us having that conversation a couple of years ago about having a retaining company to this. Is this movement going away from that, or are we still going to keep them on retainer in a different fashion, at a cheaper fashion? Or, I mean, $80 a month is not anything I'm really going to, have a cow about. I'm just kind of trying to figure out where we're going.
And I assume we're talking the personnel side of things.
Yeah.
We will continue to use consultants, but I had to decipher that. I expect us to use them for occasional use for complex legal issues related to personnel, for executive recruitments if we have to go to there. But the day-to-day nuts and bolts, we've absorbed that within the department as far as recruiting, just general recruiting, personnel issues, workers' comp. That is now being done internally.
Those consultants were on retainer, not a one-time basis prior to this, and now we're going to a one-time basis if we need them.
Correct. So the previous contract, the lifespan of RGS was spent around $30,000 in about a 6-month period.
Okay.
Since I've taken office, we haven't used RGS at all.
So we just paint them as is, not a retainer fee to keep them. Okay, thank you. That a little clarification on that. I appreciate that.
And the other one I would mention is we do use Patrick Clark
for labor negotiations.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that too.
And I just be curious. And I just confirmed with counsel that we reach out to counsel very frequently. His words, all the time on these matters. So we have other resources available.
Okay, again, I'm not trying to stop the direction we're going. I just, part-time gig here. I'm trying to remember all the stuff we decided from years past. So it's, going from there. So thank you very much.
If I'm, Stuart, did you have anything to add?
No.
Very quickly, my own experience in small and companies that would be about the size of the city of Marysville. Sometimes there's always someone inside involved with HR. And it is such a specialized field. Frequently you're reaching out to counsel or an HR consultant. In our case, and I've spoken with city manager about this, our chief executive. He has found a system that works very well, and we're realigning titles, if you will, and at the same time acknowledging the very high performance of the person who's been executing that job. That's my understanding of it. I would entertain a motion if one is.
Through the chair, I'd like to make a motion as written, pass a motion to approve attached job description for human resource manager, assistant to the city manager, and salary range.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? And we have a second. Thank you, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Madam Clerk, that is unanimous. Now we move to a public hearing. Am I right, Madam Clerk? I always check. Thank you. All matters in this section of the agenda are formal public hearings and will be acted on individually. Members of the public may request to speak when called upon for public comment. Please go to the podium and wait to be recognized. Or if you're on Zoom, the Zoom rules follow. Raise your hand and you can be recognized via Zoom. Thank you. And the matter for public hearing is a long description here. Performance update and closeout documentation for the 2020 Community Development Block Grant funding for the Wildland Fire Truck Project. Okay, and that's the recommendation is as follows. It is to pass a motion to 1, have council conduct a public hearing and accept public comment on the final expenditures and program performance for the 2020 Community Development Block Grant. That's 3 years ago, totaling $599,204 for a wildland fire truck project. And 2, direct the city manager to submit the proper documentation to the Department of Housing and Community Development and to disencumber any remaining grant dollars. And Ms. Jennifer Stachinsky will be presenting this. She is our finance director. And if I may, I just, for clarity, it sounds like we bought some fire trucks. We had a grant and we wish to present the project as a success and close out, disencumber any remaining grant dollars. Did I hear that right?
That is correct, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Please.
Okay, so good evening, Mayor and Council. So I will be giving a short presentation. I do have some notes here because I do need to repeat a lot of the numbers that you said for this public hearing. So in January of 2020, the council gave direction to apply for the 2020 CDBG grant to purchase a Type 3 engine. In August of 2021, the city was awarded a total of $599,204. I do have to distinguish that $160,892 was program income from the city, and then the remaining $438,312 was from CDBG. With around a year lead time, we did receive the engine around the end of July of 2022, so this project did take a little bit of time to go. After we took all the expenses into account for this project, the total has come to $562,191. So per CDBG regulations, we do have to disencumber the amount that has not been expended, which will be $37,013. So we do want to tell you a little bit about the engine because this engine that we purchased did replace a 1983 engine that was in service at the time, but was also very costly due to repairs and for parts that were very hard to come by. So it had gone out on calls and sometimes always didn't make it back. So this new engine provides for enhanced safety measures such as backup cameras, enhanced lighting and rollover protection, whereas the 1983 engine just had lap belts. So much safer for all guys. The new engine is also 4-wheel drive, which allows them to access the river bottoms or other parts within city limits that you don't want to bring our ladder engine into. And it has twice as much compartment space to carry additional equipment, which helps to bring more and enhance the services that we provide. So overall, we just want to be thankful to council for this opportunity to enhance the services that the fire department provides to our community. And we want to thank you for that. And if you do have any questions, we do, like we said, we have Beth here with Adams Ashby. If you have any follow-up questions on CDBG and the program it works, and that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Jennifer. And before this goes to public comment, open to public hearing, I'd like to make the point that a goodly number of people in this room helped push that engine into the firehouse. And that may give you an indication of how this matter might move forward. Please. Okay. Thank you for the presentation. The item public hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
No public comment tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Public hearing is now closed. Okay. Council, any comments, questions?
To the chair, just for clarification, as Councilman Hudson mentioned, it's a part-time job, so keeping track and keeping up, there's a lot of water that goes under the bridge, and trying to go back and recall. This was actually a grant program that involved 2 fire trucks, right? This is the fire truck that we received the grant funding for. The other fire truck was what we did ourselves, right, as a city?
Correct. This is the one that was purchased through CDBG funds and is grant funded, and the city did purchase an identical engine that we're self-funding ourselves.
Right, and it was if we purchased that, then we qualified for the grant, right? Isn't that kind of how that worked? No?
To the chair, Jennifer, you're the money person, but that was just creative financing done by the previous fire chief to be able to get 2 engines sort of with a price break, since they're both being built at the same time.
I gotcha. I was trying to connect the dots on all of that again up here. So thanks. Okay, that's all. I'm just trying to get a clear picture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, so through the chair, thank you, Jennifer, for the presentation. I am pleased and proud that we are able to do this for one of our departments here to get us these engines. I guess just the business side of it kicks in. We're unencumbering about $37,000. Does that mean we still get to keep it, or do we got to give it back?
No, we actually never got the money. What happens is when you do a grant is we're reimbursed after the fact. So we were eligible for up to 599,000.
Copy.
There was 37 that wasn't used. So we're not giving it back. And then the majority of that was for administrative time. Because when you build these type of grants, you build in time for training, overtime, general admin for the city. The training, most of it was done during normal hours. And if it's not overtime, then we cannot ask for reimbursement on it.
I got it. So the 37,000 that we're trying to unencumber just means that we're not going to receive that because everything's all said and done.
That is correct, but it goes back into the pot for other CDBG funding that the city is applying for. So it helps all of us who have applications out.
That's what I want. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I am very pleased that we have decent equipment for the fire department. Thank you.
Thank you.
I put a motion to as it's written.
I'll second it.
Aye.
Thank you. And a reminder to please sign or sign in sheet when you leave for the public hearing. I will take care of that. Thank you.
Any committee reports from Councilman Hudson, please?
Actually, there are no committee reports to report at this particular time with either LAFCO or transportation. Although, wait, I'm sorry. We are in the Yuba-Sutter transport looking for a new director in that position. And the job description has gone out, and hopefully we can find somebody to replace the individual that's been in that position for a couple decades. And hopefully that goes well for our community, as well as the potential, how do we say it? The pool sharing Uber design that's coming up pretty soon, where it's going to be the buses that will be able to take a party of Ubers instead of the current routes are going to change in the next few years for all of Yuba-Sutter in general.
Is that like Dial a Ride?
No, Dial a Ride's a little bit different. That goes after a specific crowd. It's going to be pretty much Uber buses that you share with people that they pick up along the way.
Okay. Vice Mayor.
I have no committee reports. I'm on the same committee with Councilman Hudson. So the only one that I think we were anything involved with, he covered. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Belza.
I have nothing to report for this evening.
Councilman Gilchrist.
I have no committee reports at this time.
Thank you, sir. I don't know that there's an actual report, but the vice mayor and I are on a traffic committee, and we've been earnest in moving that issue forward. Much of it's done in closed session because of litigation, but there will be some matters be more public on this in the near future. Let's see. Council correspondence, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. Each of the council members have a email and memo attached from Catherine Rosser in their inbox here at City Hall regarding the Rosser Family Monument, and as well as a letter from Peggy DeHaan, who is representative of the Tri-Counties Community Center that was received earlier this month as well.
Hey, Mr. City Manager.
3 quick things. Dutch Brothers grand opening is on March 28th at 1:30. And Wide Awake Geeks is having a grand reopening on April 7th. Time is still to be determined. And then the third item is Marysville Drake's first game will be May 20th, weather permitting. And the last item is related to the brick, and I am going to turn that over to Mr. Flores.
Oh, there was this announcement that the brick has wine, beer, and hors d'oeuvres Monday through Friday from 2 to 7. So it gives us other options in the downtown to go to. It's also great to go to Silver Dollar as well, of course, because we go there all the time. But the brick has that option from 2 to 7 Monday through Friday. And then I also want to mention that on Monday nights, they have music as well at the brick. And they wanted to extend an invite and make sure we extended an invite to everyone here and anyone listening to go to music on Monday nights. And then in addition to that, we do 10,000 steps with the community development director on Monday nights. So anybody who would like to walk around the city of Marysville Monday night, Vincenzo joined me one night, but many others have joined, and we just walk around the whole town, Ellis Lake, and it's a really good way to get your steps in. So come and join in if you'd like to. Love to have you present. Thank you.
If I may recommend joining Dan on his walks, I had an illuminating walk with him recently just around downtown. It was a great walk. You always learn something, and one of the things you learn is Dan is on his job. He knows what's going on.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd love to invite you as well in the evenings. Come on the walk.
You're too kind. Council member comments or requests. Councilman Gilchrist, comments or requests?
I have no comments at this time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Councilman
you.
Hudson.
Chief Sachs, are we getting some new patrol cars? Are we getting some new patrol cars on lease? Is that what I'm seeing in the parking lot there?
Sorry. We have 5 Tahoes that were purchased with this budget year, so they have been delivered. The decals are on them. We're waiting for some back ordered equipment right now. However, they will be outfitted and we'll be cycling some other cars out of the fleet. So
awesome. That's part of our lease program we got going. Is that what that is?
yes, sir.
Awesome. So I saw in the parking lot and I like them much better than Fords. So it was kind of nice. But
we do too.
Thanks, Chief. That's bad. I appreciate that. So as for other comments, something I need to talk to you about, Jim, but I'm just going to make mention here. 4 years ago, I tried to do this program called the NFPA 101, which was this whole thing that has been done twice now. With
What's
our sister
NFPA
city,
stand for?
National Fire Protection Association 101, which is our sister, our city across the river has taken hold of and done a couple of times. They just had their second one. I need to talk to you about this as well, Chief Hegstrom, maybe through city manager, where basically city council and staff and significant individuals throughout the city go through a fire department 101 type orientation class, where we end up having basically letting them use the extrication tools and do a little bit of live fire scenario, watch and see what the fire department does for an actual incident mitigation type situation, just to get people on board. I know that they've done this also with law enforcement and other communities and so forth. But it would be something I think would be really beneficial for several people within our community, just to see what our departments do. If we could get together and just do something that just enhances and brings to light what our departments do, public works, police, fire, and so forth. It's just good to get, I mean, I could tell the stories all day long, but I'd like to get a couple key people just in play to go from there. And so I've not talked about this, Chief, but I know I've talked to you about this in years past. So that'd be great to be able to.
Yeah, I think we talked about this, and it's like a 1 day.
It's a 1 day shot.
Firefighter for a day type of thing.
Where they're outfitted with gear, put them through a live fire scenario.
I missed out of that on my last job, but I would love to do it here. And so
you got the purse strings.
Us two and Mr. Chief Hagstrom can start talking about that and figure out how to make it work.
Cool. Thank you. Besides that, I just really appreciate everything that's going on with just the city in general. And it's great to see some stump grinding going on D Street with the public works. That's good to see some of those stumps go. And I kind of wanted to borrow that stump grinder, but I know I can't. So I just thank you for all the departments just doing a really good job within the city. Thank you for everything you guys are doing. Staff as well. Thanks.
Councilman Belson.
Yeah, I've got a couple plugs or pitches to make. The first was a group called City Impact, is our first Adopt a Park group. They adopted the Veterans Park on E Street or 5th Street, sorry. And they had their first event this last Saturday. So they went in, did a bunch of cleanup, and kind of had a little community gathering, et cetera. I heard it was a success. So just want to give a shout out to that Adopt a Park program. Hopefully we see more groups, wanting to take on. I know we've got some with the softball fields that are moving forward, et cetera. So there's good movement on that. And I also want to make a plug all the way out to the end of April. Myself and Jim, city manager, Vincenzo, our public works director, we meet every month with the Say Love group. And it's, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 10 people, depends on who's going to be there. But the last year or so, there's been a lot of trash cleanup, and Say Love's done a great job with Sand Plant and Hollywood Trailer Park, et cetera, and started to move into more capital improvement areas. You might say a lot of graffiti cleanup, but then has done D Street before parades, and they're starting to get more involved in not just trash cleanup. But I think at the end of April, we're looking at doing a pretty extensive project for Gavin Park, and they're going to come in and spend quite a bit of time, energy, equipment, et cetera. And so we're trying to muster up as much community awareness as we can, because this is really a capital improvement project that's benefiting really the residents, right? It's not just going and cleaning up an area that's dirty, So trying to generate some movement, momentum on that front. And then also in that, there's going to be some announcements between I don't know if you call it a relationship being built between the Drakes and Say Love. So the Drakes is agreeing to put together some incentives, and there'll be some awards, and they're talking about doing maybe a joint ball game or a joint weekend where there's going to be a kind of a fun volunteer baseball game affiliated with the Drakes, and that stuff will be coming down, I think, in May or June. But anyways, just kind of putting the plug out there a little bit ahead of time. There's going to be some fun stuff coming down to be a part of. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vice Mayor. Microphone.
More than a comment, maybe just a question or so. Comment first would be, I guess, the Bryant Field, how it's coming along. And obviously, for those that don't know, the weather has really put a damper on trying to get the retaining wall done and the fence done. And we're going to be extremely pushed for time, but hopefully we're going to be able to maneuver and get the Drakes going in there. With that thought, it made me just, I'm wondering, have you or Vincenzo been down to the softball fields? Are we underwater there? It didn't look like we were underwater clear to that point.
The softball fields do not have water. It's the boat dock parking lot, and then it crossed Biz Johnson between the 5th Street and 10th Street Bridge. So
it did cross Biz Johnson.
It did cross Biz Johnson between the 5th and 10th Street Bridge into Lions Grove. That's the lower lying area because of the flood irrigation elevation for the soccer fields. So we're just getting some extra watering in right now. And it's going to drop by 5 feet, more than likely by tomorrow afternoon, down to 48 feet, and it'll recede back into the channel. So we're keeping a close eye on all that daily. So
okay, I saw they're cutting the release way back.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
by Monday it should be at 0, and then our 14-day forecast still shows rain, but we're projecting like, you know, out into like late April, first part of May for our high water, if any.
Okay, and then just lastly, a suggestion, and I think, Mr. Mayor, it might be you would be the person, but a few years ago when Brad and I got on the council, we did a tour out at Beale Air Force Base, and I'll tell you, it was very informative, a lot of fun, and I don't know if there's a chance that we could get another one put together. I think you guys would be amazed if you haven't been out there to see it.
I will look into that.
Great, thank you.
If I may mention on that, I'm pretty sure it was by former council member Bill Simmons helped set that up through the BMLC. And I know that just recently there was an event out there with the BMLC with Yuba City Council. But I do agree with you, Bruce. It was I mean, I've been here for almost three decades, and you know, I don't get to go to the base that often. There's people with guns there, so I enjoyed the experience to go out on there and see what our Air Force does here locally. It was awesome. So we can make something like that happen again. I'm not sure how to do it.
I think are you the BO liaison?
Yes, and
that's why I suggested that.
Exactly. And recently I saw something, it might have been in the paper, about Beale actually doing an outreach to the community. And I will reach out to my contact there. See what we can do.
Yeah, okay.
Awesome. In fact, it was there's community interest also. I was chatting with the owner of Casa Carlos, and he wanted to explore a discount program with Beale Air Force personnel. And this time I see him, you've reminded me now, I'm going to see if, I think he's part of the restaurant association, see if that can be association wide, because that would be a much more powerful draw. They're wonderful people, and love to have them spend more time in Marysville and in the entire Yuba community. My comment would be, as I'm thinking about it, looking around the room, and we have like time, we've had some time with our new city manager, and he's, in my view, is doing a fabulous job. And I look at the staff, the direct reports, and we've got a strong team. There's plenty of challenges, lots of challenges, and we struggle with them all the time. But there's a greater sense of confidence. We approach those challenges, and I commend our city manager, and I commend every member of the staff in the room here today. We're in a better position today than I can remember being the day I joined the council, and the council gets a lot of the credit for that too. I'm optimistic, very optimistic.
Okay.
Oh, you don't want to end on a compliment?
I would be remiss if we didn't include our council, our general counsel, as part of that team.
The council here I'm working on my house a couple of years ago. It's been a long project. And this guy comes over, and I had not yet met, in fact, it was before I was elected. I had not yet met Brent. So Brent comes over and he says, "You still live at 2801 3rd Avenue in Sacramento?" What the hell are you talking about? Well, that was my address when I was at McGeorge School of Law, at least the first year, year one. And Mr. Brad Bortson sat 3 seats down from me in that same class. and that was the beginning of our relationship. And forgive me for, you're obviously part of the team here. And I overlooked you. Been pointed out. Oh dear. Next regular meeting of the council will be held Tuesday, April 4th at 6 p.m. We are now adjourned. Thank you. No, you got me. That's good. That's good. No.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Your favorite show is back, the Yuba City Home, Garden, and Sportsman's Expo, March 24th through 26th at the Yuba-Sutter Fairgrounds. You'll find concrete floor coatings, indoor flooring, things to go on the floor, items softer than the floor, food, more than 100 exhibitors for home, garden, and sports, and tasty treats to eat or take with you. The Yuba City Home, Garden, and Sportsman's Expo. Details at ychomeshow.com. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe, with lessons, in person and personalized. Instruments including guitars and amps, horns, strings for instruments, and a myriad of music and sound equipment. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe.